A lot of people, they talk a whole lot about on their own food and raising their children on the raw food diet or the mucus-free diet. There's a lot of people that talk a whole lot of stuff, but there's not a whole lot of people that necessarily do it on this level. Sarah and Emmanuel Bissarello started their lives on a standard diet, but in their mid-20s, they started their healing journey.
Definitely when I grew up in a diet that was very standard American diet. I had a lot of fast food. I had a lot of processed TV dinner food. You just put them in the microwave, you come out and you eat it, or you just put Velveeta cheese on anything that you have. I was diagnosed with IBS at age 14, was on medication. My adrenals were really shot. I was always anxious. I always had tons of jitters. Oh, you found a picture.
Yeah, so when was this? Yeah, you had some good before and afters here. And so without further ado, let me introduce to you Sarah and Emmanuel Bissarello started their lives on a standard diet, but in their mid-20s, they started their healing journey. And the deep emotional and spiritual transformation started to percolate into their lifestyle, revolutionizing it completely, culminating in a fruit-based diet. Nowadays, Sarah focuses on helping people in addressing their emotional baggage so that they can engage in a better lifestyle, while Emmanuel dedicates his time to agroforestry. So give it up for Sarah and Emmanuel Bissarello. What is going on?
Thank you for having us. Loving that song in the beginning of your show too. We are mucus-free.
That's great.
Exactly. And that was a song that was spontaneous during our first Air It Day. That was in 2018. Our Professor Arnold Air It Day celebration, and that was in my backyard, and we had like about 30-40 people back there just celebrating the works of Arnold Air It, and that emerged. We always have a live concert where we perform, and that came about, and so I was like, that's the perfect song for this podcast. So welcome, and so introduce yourselves to our audience a little bit, kind of talk, maybe do the overall summary of the two of you, and then we can kind of get into the individual journeys that you had. So so who are you, and where are you guys from? What are you guys trying to do on this path?
Okay, you want to go first? Okay, all right. Hi guys, I'm Sarah. I have been on this healing journey path, I would definitely say, for most of my life. I feel like I knew at a young age that the standard way of living really wasn't for me, and I was a little confused and decided to, fall asleep with that. But always in the back of my head and my heart, I always felt there was a different way of living, one that's closer to nature, that's eating from nature, that's living in nature. I was always the kid that would, climb the trees and be with the kids. And definitely when I grew up in a diet that was very standard American diet. I had a lot of fast food. I had a lot of processed TV dinner food, I would say. You just put them in the microwave, you come out and you eat it, or you just put Velveeta cheese on anything that you have. And I definitely had issues from the time I was little. I was diagnosed with IBS at age 14, was on medication, and then got off of that when I was 18. And then from about 18 to about 27 years old, I was still eating pretty much a standard American diet, but was really living that fast-paced life. I was living in Los Angeles and really not taking my time to eat and just shoving Diet Cokes down my throat just to have energy, having my cafe lattes, the whole nine. And it hit me when I was about, I think, 27 years old. And I was like, something needs to change. Like, this is not the lifestyle that I'm supposed to be living. This is not my truth. And my adrenals were really shot. I was always anxious. I always had tons of it was like jitters almost. And if I didn't have jitters, then I'd go and get a Diet Coke just to have that jittery feeling. And yeah, it was really crazy. And then when I was about 27 is when I was starting really more of my spiritual path and starting to understand who I was on that side and addressing my emotional baggage that's, craving for these Diet Cokes and wanting the fast food, wanting things to just fill me up inside, but not really fulfill me.
So if you're new here, I'm Professor Spira. I practice something called the Mucusless Diet Healing System by Professor Arnold Air It. I've done so for over 22 years, and I've helped thousands and thousands of other people. Ever had any questions that you wanted to ask me personally? Then I want you to join the Mucus-free Life membership. When you do, you're gonna get direct access to me. I do 2 coaching calls per month. You bring your questions in, and we're gonna go through everything. We have 2 accountability calls per month. We have our own social media platform called Mucus-free Social. You also get access to the menu and recipe library. We also have exclusive training sessions sessions, workshops with me, all kinds of fun stuff planned for the membership. My opinion is reading the book alone is not enough. So many people have read the book, but they didn't have the structure, support, and accountability to keep them on track, to decode certain things that were still confusing. That's what the membership is all about. You're gonna have access to a community of people that actually care about your success. There's nothing else out there that's like this, because there's nothing like the Mucus Diet Healing System. This is one of one. You want to get the benefits out of it, then you're gonna wanna join the Mucus-free Life membership. Click the link right now. See you in there.
Yeah, so right around that time I started going into juice fasting and more like the Ayurvedic diet. One of my best friends was an Ayurvedic practitioner. Oh, you found a picture.
Yeah, so when was this? Yeah, you had
Okay,
some good before and afters here.
So this was actually when I started my fruit-based diet. So I went raw about 6 months prior to that first picture you're seeing on the left. Okay. And now I went raw actually about a year after my daughter was born, because I had such crazy candida. I was vegan. I was eating really nothing but vegan food, but a lot of starches, and I was not feeling good at all. And I was like, what is going on? Something's got to shift. And so I decided to go raw overnight, and I went on a 7-day juice fast.
She did what you don't recommend to do.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I really felt like absolute crap. And I remember seeing my daughter, and she would break a glass in front of my face, and I wouldn't even move. And I'm like, why am I so foggy? And I said, I have to change something, not only for myself, but for my family and for my children, so I can be awake and aware. And I just was like, okay, I'm going to start with a juice fast. So I did a 7-day grapefruit juice fast. And then from there, I went raw, and I went more of the high fat raw. And then about 6 months later, we went to Kauai. We moved to Kauai, Hawaii. And that was when I went on a fruit-based diet and started my detox. And see, the picture on the left here was for about, I would say about a year to a year and a half. My skin was breaking out like crazy, not just with the red pimples, but it'd be on and off. But also I had any of our scola coming out. I had so many things that were coming out that were just dormant in my body. I mean, I spent 13 years of constantly having makeup on my face because I was on the entertainment industry every day, getting my makeup on and chemicals and all that stuff. So I knew, and he kind of warned me, I knew that when I was going to start taking this journey, that I was going to go through it a little bit, because I had a lot of physical stuff going on. I had my liver, my kidneys, my lymphatic system was shot. Clearly you can see my lymph was not moving. There was a lot of obstructions. I had a lot of parasites and things like that. And, and with that was a lot of the emotional stuff. And now about 5 years, I would say, prior to going on this diet, I was doing the emotional work. And so when I was doing the emotional work and doing a lot of self-love work, a lot of meditation, and actually discovering what was inside, discovering my emotions and having those realizations, this was inevitable. It was like slowly but surely going on this diet was what had to happen for my emotional well-being, but then my spiritual well-being. It was like, I no longer wanted those things. It was like, you have to start eating this way so you can almost, what do you say, like live up to where you're going on your spiritual level. It's just like pushing. It's like, now your body's got to follow suit for where you're going in the mental and emotional. You want to share something?
No, the middle picture is what, like about 6 months into it, and then the last picture is about a year.
Yeah, so this was 6 months, and these were kind of, the middle two are kind of coinciding. I lost weight in that journey as well, and then about 4 months after was the picture where I just, like, things switched, where I did a lot of the releasing of the obstructions and the detoxification that needed to happen, where I could actually start building and absorbing food and nutrients. I realized that pretty much my whole life, I don't feel like I was absorbing food. I know that sounds weird.
Yeah,
I don't feel like I was absorbing anything, and I was just like kind of living, and other things were eating all my food the whole time. So
yeah. So talk a little bit about your pregnancy journeys and how they were a lot really different from the standard, what's so the way, just to give, so people get a perspective. Anytime when you go to a hospital for something, that should be reserved for emergencies. We are in such a constipated condition as humans that it has become normalized for pregnancy and giving birth is essentially a medical emergency, where it's like, rush you to the hospital, let's get you all hooked up to things, let's get some drugs in you, let's just this whole thing. When, like we said, way back, I mean, I'm sure it's happening today too, but you go back far enough in our ancestors and you could have a woman give birth, be in the fields of Africa doing something, or, and then kind of pop a squat, give birth, get right back to work 10 minutes later, like that is normal. That's what's supposed to be normal. It's not normal for pregnancy and giving birth to be a medical emergency. So, so tell us a little bit about your pregnancy journeys and how different pregnancy is when you were eating in such a way where you don't have globs of parasites and slime just lining your entire body.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've had 2 children, so I've had 2 pregnancies. My first pregnancy, I was vegan, vegetarian, and then around 28 weeks, I started eating meat about once a week. With that pregnancy, I did prepare for it.
Just because the levels of iron show low.
Yeah.
And at that time, we had not.
We weren't there yet. I wasn't on my I had detoxification raw journey. Like I did a little bit. I was doing like liver flushes and kidney flushes. Granted, this was 8.5 years ago. Okay, so 8.5 years ago, I was.
That was standard vegan mode. Like
exactly, it was standard vegan mode, and then people were like, "You need to have some meat. You're going low," and I was like, "Oh, like it was."
Now is this the first pregnancy?
Yes, that was this pregnancy. This pregnancy, I gained 65 pounds. I started at 105. And then I gave birth at like almost 170, 169, something like that. So, I became ginormous. Huge. I was so inflamed. My feet were swollen. He kept on talking about how big my butt was. He's like, you're so big. Like I was just, because I'm normally like a very small, petite girl. And, but with that pregnancy, even though I was that big, it was a longer birth. It was a 38-hour journey. What are you going to say?
Yes. Very important.
Yes.
Something that was, I think, super different from both of them is that during this first pregnancy, she'll always complain that she felt that she had something stuck under her ribs.
Yes.
So I have to massage her intestines because how she became, not only she picked up a lot of weight, but the stretching, of all the organs and whatever. So I had to massage the whole intestine, the large intestine, basically all the time to remove gas from under the ribs or other places. To facilitate the movement, So that's one of the things that I had to do all the time for her.
Yeah, exactly. So it was definitely a, there was more. I had more symptoms. I had nausea starting at 7 weeks, which most women have. My birth was, like I said, 38 hours long. I did have a natural birth. That was one of the things I was like, I got to have a natural birth. I'm doing this. But, it took a lot more work, and that could be also the emotional aspect and just the first time of going, okay, like, how do I do this? How do I trust my body? And I think a lot of women, they come into birth and pregnancy and they don't trust themselves. They don't trust that their baby in their body and God can really help facilitate this in a natural way.
I want you to look right here. Here's another great video specifically for you. So click right here and I will see you over there. Peace, love, and breath.